So we know that HMRC are trying to push people out of the tax return system. Yeah. A lot of people will then think, oh, well, it'll all get done through payroll. I won't have to worry about anything. But we still have people coming to us and saying, I'm on payroll. I don't have any other income. I don't do a tax return, and I've been hit with some whopping great liability. Why would that ever happen?
So that will usually be because of your tax code being incorrect through the payroll. In general, HMRC will issue you with a tax code based upon your income levels for the prior year. So say, for example, your income levels for the prior year was maybe 99,000, and by the time you've had a pay rise and a bonus for the following tax year, maybe your income levels are 130,000. You're likely to have been issued with a 1257L tax code, which means that effectively you're being given a full personal allowance through your payroll for the year. But by the end of the year, if your income levels have gone above that 125, 140, you'll have lost your personal allowance. And therefore, unfortunately, we do have people who go, well, hang on a second, I've been taxed through payroll. Why is it not correct? Unfortunately, it's just the way it is. It is something though that you can do something about. If you realise that your income levels are higher than maybe considered as part of like your tax code notice, if you think that your tax code is wrong, you can actually contact HMRC and ask them to adjust it.
But again, this is one of these things, isn't it, where if we went and found 100 people and said, right, explain how a tax code works, 100 of them would go, I have no idea what is a tax code. True. Because the system has always worked on the basis that like, oh yeah, no, I paid the tax through my payroll and it all gets sorted out. And it's one of those weird things. I remember when I first started working back in the mid 15th century, and the tax codes then were obviously, written on a bit of parchment and all the rest of it. But it's been one of the great deceits of the British government that they've managed to get people who are paid, let's say, £30,000 a year, to think that equals, and people do, they go, oh, that's take home of 1,200 quid a month. And they don't do it by saying what's 30,000 divided by 12 and then figuring out how much tax has gone.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's how people's minds work. It's very clever. So the one way you get people to realise how much tax they pay would actually be to pay everyone gross and then make them send a direct debit to HMRC every month. And then you'd have real clamour for people to, have lower tax rates.
Yes.
But it's worth people understanding that just because you're paying through PAYE doesn't mean you might have difficult situations. Can you do anything after the end of the tax year to pay it off by having another change of tax code, or would you have to stump up the cash?
So I would say it will depend. Quite often, if the tax liability is less than £3,000, there's usually some option to take it into your tax code for future years to pay it off. Obviously, that's going to hit in terms of the next year's
take home pay on a month by month basis.
But
at least it means you don't have to suddenly stump up £3,000 when they send a bill through or whatever the number, right?
This is true. However, if you've lost effectively the full amount of your personal allowance, that's £5,000. So I think in that sort of instance, you're probably going to be expected to pay or potentially arrange a time to pay with HMRC to get it resolved.